Not even sponsored. Alright, so welcome back to the channel, guys. I hope you had a great new year and Christmas and all that stuff, everything in between. I certainly did, I was about to say, but I was working all the time. Either way, 2020 is here. I started the year in the best possible way down in Gothenburg. I'm actually feeling a bit under the weather, so if I'm coughing or anything, I'm sorry. But I figured what better way to start the new year than to let you guys know exactly what gear I'm using to shoot my videos. My travel videos, my videos here at home, and yeah, everything basically. Usually when people make these videos, they're like, oh, everyone's been asking and stuff, but I mean, to be honest, not that many people have been asking, but I'm gonna make the video anyways. And it's not gonna be like a super in-depth zooming in on pixels or something like that. I'm just gonna talk about the items or the gear and let you know what I think about it, so you can know for yourself when you're gonna purchase new stuff. And with that said, let's jump straight into the video. Alright, so one thing that probably none of you guys know is the fact that the lens that I use for almost all my shots is a Canon lens. I use this 16-40 lens with an adapter and I am really loving the results. This was actually a Christmas gift from my mom. It's a lens coffee cup. Before we jump into this, I also want to mention that I am not like, what should I call it? I am actually pretty spontaneous when it comes to buying gear. Yeah, I mean, you learn from the mistakes you make, and now you can learn from my mistakes, so that's good. Good for everyone, except for my wallet. Also, before we jump into the video, I want to mention that all of this gear doesn't necessarily go in my bag at the same time. Yeah, you can just consider it as a what gear do I use video instead of a what's in my bag video. So yeah, let's go. The first item I really want to talk about is the A6300. This was the first camera that I ever bought, except for my GoPro, and it's really a beast. I don't know what the price of this is right now. I think it's around 700 bucks or something maybe. Either way, you're getting your money's worth with this little camera. If you're here from my Bali video, that whole video was shot with this camera, except for the drone shots and the underwater footage, like a lot of people want to point out in the comments. But yeah, most of that video was shot with this, and using this camera with the like Sigma 30mm 1.4, which is also like a really cheap lens, just creates miracles. Like everyone on my Bali video actually asked me what lens I used to get those shots, and like I bought it with the kit lens at first and I was like, oh, it's okay, but I wasn't super impressed. But then when I bought that Sigma lens, I think that's around 300 bucks. It just changed the game completely. It's like you get this crisp bokeh, and yeah, it's just really awesome. And also, like a year after I bought it, unfortunately after I came home from Bali, they released a 16mm version as well, 1.4. And that's just a really beautiful lens. I wish I never sold it, to be honest. I sold both those lenses when I upgraded to my big camera. The only actual downside with the A6300 is that it doesn't have image stabilization built in. And the good lenses, like the ones I mentioned, the Sigma lenses, they don't have stabilization either, which is gonna make for very shaky footage, unless you have a gimbal. So like you 100% almost need a gimbal with this camera. Secondly, which could also be a benefit, is the size. I don't like that it's so small. I mean, it's a pretty nice fit in your hand, and now when I'm using it as a secondary camera, it's really awesome that it's small. But if you show up to a shoot, like if you're gonna shoot a wedding or whatever, which this camera, by the way, is fully capable of doing, they're probably gonna be like, oh, are you gonna shoot with that? You know what I mean? So the size could be like a benefit and a bad thing. So yeah, all right, so the second piece of gear I want to talk about is the big boy, the main shooter, my main camera, the Sony a7 III. As you probably figured out, I'm using it to shoot this video, so you're gonna see it right here instead. There we have it. Yeah, it's a really great camera. I picked it up about a year ago now, I think. I've been using it all over Asia for photos and video. It has all the features that the a6300 has, except for the fact that it's bigger, it's full frame, it has image stabilization, and you can use the full frame lenses and all that stuff. To be completely honest though, I wouldn't have upgraded if this had image stabilization. I was lacking the stabilization and I wanted to upgrade, and it felt kind of weird to upgrade from the a6300 to the a6500, which is like just one little step, you know. So I just had a big paycheck and I was like, let's go all in on the a7 III. I was also gonna go on my Asia trip and everything, so I wanted to have like to maximize my gear before the trip, if you know what I mean. Probably has a lot of features that I'm not mentioning as well, but yeah, like those are the important things basically. When it comes to lenses, like my all-time favorite lens, no questions about it, is gonna be this little guy right here. It's the size 55mm 1.8 for the Sony full-frame cameras, and I mean this lens is just look at the size of it to begin with. We can compare it to, this is my can right here. Yeah. It's a really small lens and it produces some amazing images. Like I told you guys I wasn't gonna go into detail, but you can just see how sharp this lens is when you shoot with it. The only downside with this lens, and the only downside, is that it's pretty expensive. It costs around 1200 bucks, and that's the way it goes when you want to get really good stuff. I actually, when I bought my a7 III, I knew I wanted a 50mm as my first lens, so I got the Sigma 50mm 1.4. I brought it home, I shot with it, and first of all, that lens is like this big, like a piece of work, and it weighs around 1 kilo. This is like 300 grams. And also the Sigma lens, the autofocus wasn't working well, it was big and chunky, and I mean, I was saving like $400 on buying the Sigma lens, but at the end of the day, that's not worth it. I would definitely recommend you to buy this lens instead, even though it's a bit more expensive, and yeah. But yeah, this is my favorite lens of all time, and I highly recommend you to buy it. Alright, so the second lens I want to talk about is my zoom lens, or all-around lens, whatever you want to call it, and it's this guy right here. It's the 24-240 Sony full-frame lens, and goes out like this. And there's actually quite a story behind this lens, because last year when we went to Asia, I knew I wanted a zoom lens with me on the trip, because in my opinion, you need a zoom when you're going on a trip like that. Like 6 months in Asia, of course you need a zoom. But the problem was that the 200mm f4, the Sony lenses, it was so big and also very expensive. So I had the brilliant idea of buying a 90mm macro lens for 1300 bucks. And I was thinking that I could use that lens as my zoom lens and also have it for like macro photography and stuff. But I pretty quickly on the trip realized that 90mm, like the difference between 90mm and 50mm, which is my other lens, it's not, the difference is not that big, and you definitely don't get that zoom feel. Even though the 90mm is a great lens and it's like considered one of the sharpest lenses in the world, it definitely doesn't serve the purpose as a zoom lens. So I actually traded my 90mm macro lens for this guy in Kuala Lumpur, and I had to pay like 600 bucks in between. So that was a pretty shitty deal for me, but I mean, I just knew that this was like the trip of a lifetime and I wanted to have a zoom lens on the trip. And to give this guy some credit, it actually goes all the way down to 24mm. So you can basically vlog with it, like it's kind of a little bit too zoomed, but you can vlog with it and you can also shoot really zoomed in. So when I was on my trip, it was really good when we were like, for example, going on like a bus ride somewhere and all my gear is packed down, I could throw this lens on and I could vlog and also get like zoomed shot from the bus or the taxi or whatever. Alright, so the last lens I want to talk about is the 16-35 size lens, which is my wide angle lens, my vlog lens, whatever you want to call it. So You can see it right here, and it goes in and out like this. Oop, where were we? It goes from 16 on a full frame, which is really wide, all the way into 35, all the way in. That's not even super long, but yeah, it goes to 35, and it's aperture of f4, which is like the bad version. There's a 2.8 version as well, but I got this one and it does the job. I use it mainly as like a landscape photography lens and like a vlog, like a super wide vlog lens. And for this as well, like it serves a lot of purposes, and a wide lens is almost necessary in every filmmaker's kit, I'd say. I really prefer having a lot of bokeh more than having f4, but yeah, the 2.8 version is just too expensive. And this guy, I got it just before the Asia trip as well. I bought it used, so I only paid like 700 bucks, but I think it's maybe around 1500 bucks if you buy it new. I actually forgot one of my lenses, so this is the last one. It's a bit dusty. It's the Helios 44-2 something. It's a vintage lens, and I have this little anamorphic filter on it. Oh, that's weird. If I remember correctly, the story behind this lens is that Russia wanted to copy some Zeiss lens, and they made this little guy. And it has like this really, I don't know if you've seen any videos with it, I can maybe throw some up on the screen now. But it has like really characteristic look to it. It like swirls the bokeh, and having this little anamorphic filter on the top gives it like an extra characteristic look. So it's like, it has a really unique look, and the anamorphic filter just makes it even more special. So I should use it way more. But it's manual focus, and you get what you get. I don't know if they're available anymore. I think my friend wanted to buy one, but he couldn't find one, so I'm glad that I bought it when I did. Next item that we are gonna talk about, or maybe not talk about, is this little GoPro. It's a GoPro. You all know what you use a GoPro for. This is actually the first camera that I bought, like literally first camera. And I used it on like this little gimbal thing, and I was like super amazed how it was like, how a gimbal worked. And yeah, this is what like launched my whole photography passion, or like videography photography passion. Alright, so the next piece of gear, if you didn't guess by watching what disappears from the shelf behind me, is the DJI Mavic Pro. It's the regular first version, and it does the job that a drone is supposed to do. It flies around and it shoots videos and photos. It's kind of a funny story actually, because this drone is what got me my first videography gig. I bought this drone like complete YOLO. Like I think I bought my A6300, and then like a month after that I bought this. My friend saw the video, like the first video that I shot with this, and she contacted me about a job. Long story short, I was gonna go shoot the job with this drone. Like it was a drone video that I was gonna shoot, and the day before I was like testing it out, flying around in Stockholm, and I was gonna be like cool in front of some people that were there, I guess. So I was like going like full speed straight into a stone wall, and the drone crashed and like free fall, like upside down, like 50 meters. I think it went like upside down, and then right before it landed it managed to like stabilize and like something, and just land straight, because it survived. And like when I say 50 meters, I mean 50 meters. It was just like into the wall and then but yeah, there was like one propeller that broke, and that was about it. 3 years later, still alive. Next piece of gear is going to be this audio recorder. It's the Zoom H1 audio recorder, and you can use it to record sound effects, and you can use it for ASMR, and you can use it for whatever you like. But I mainly use it for sound effects when I'm out in the wild, or in the wild, when I'm out like in the world. You can record ambient sound effects like waterfalls or people talking or whatever, and I really should use it more. And I also use it for having like a mic setup with this little lav mic. This is the Rode Lav Mic Pro Plus something, and I use these together. I put this here, or I put it on someone else, and I talk with it. And I'm sorry for always looking up in the screen there, but I just recently started using this external monitor because Sony, and yeah, I'm kind of getting used to it, so I'm trying to look at you guys, but sometimes I'm gonna be up there. Next thing that always goes in my backpack, or whatever, when I'm not even filming, when I'm going to work, I bring these guys as well. It's not a camera thing, but I don't know how to survive without these. It's the Bose Quiet Comfort. I don't know what version, but it's like sound, like headphones that makes you not hear anything around you, basically. And I don't know how to survive without them, to be honest. Like when I was on the trip in Asia specifically, on the airplane and everything, when you have all these noises around you, you can just put these on and just go full editing mode and go into your own world, and they're just really awesome headphones. And the next piece of gear, I don't know, that was weird. It's the Scion Crane V2, not the Scion Crane 2. This is the V2. I don't know why they made it so confusing with the names, but that's what it's called. And one thing that I really recommend is to have the dual handle with it. I got this for like $100, and it's really worth it because it makes the gimbal, first of all, look really professional, and it also helps to get that, like, this thing, you know, like it's much nicer. And now when I have this monitor as well, I can mount the monitor on this little handle here and look like a really professional video guy. Or maybe I am a professional video guy, who knows. But that's my gimbal. I get really stable shots with it, and a must-have thing for the gimbal that I haven't talked about. Oh, wait. This is a camera plate attachment thing, like a quick mount, I think it's called, which basically makes it so I can just snap my camera on. I wanted to do that fast so it looks good in the video. It's a quick release plate, and it's a really good thing to have on the gimbal. So you can just put the camera on and off quickly. That's basically most of like my main pieces of gear, and I realized that I have some other stuff that I'm using right now. Yeah, we're gonna do a quick rundown of the things that are behind the scenes. First thing is gonna be the Rode VideoMic Pro. It's on my camera right now and you're listening to it. Mine is a bit broken. I've shoved it in my bag several times for like 3 years, and yeah, it's survived, but like it's kind of weird sometimes. But it's a really good quality microphone. I need to get a new one, and I'm gonna get the same one probably, so really happy with that microphone. The other thing is something I just recently bought. It's the external monitor from Shinobi, Atomos Shinobi, and it's a pretty pricey monitor, but it was kind of weird because I was looking at monitors one night. Yeah, I was like, oh, should I really buy one of these like bad eBay monitors? And the day after, a friend of mine wrote to me saying like, oh, do you want to buy my monitor? So now I have a good monitor and I'm really happy with it. It has like false color and all those fancy settings, you know. The fact still remains that if Sony could make a flip screen, I wouldn't need to buy an external monitor. The last two things that are behind the scenes here is this tripod. It's the Manfrotto B3 something, and it's just a tripod. It works, it does the job. And this other one is my first tripod, and that's even better actually because it's so small. And like when I went to Asia, I brought the cheap one. As you can see, I got the sticker still on it. I think that's about it. Obviously I have some like batteries and like chargers and whatnot, but I don't think I need to talk anymore about that. Extra batteries are good to have, extra memory cards are good to have, hard drives are good to have. And with that said, I am done talking. I have talked so much in the past hour. And I guess I have to mention the fact that all of this gear has been accumulated over the past 3 years. And when it comes to this stuff, like I know everybody says in their gear videos that, oh, gear doesn't matter or all that stuff, but I mean, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Like, sure, I could have stayed with this camera for until now and probably have done the same things that I'm doing now, but I think you understand what I mean. Gear definitely isn't everything, and you shouldn't think that just because you buy a piece of gear you're gonna like become the next Sam Calder, because like, to be completely honest, that's what I thought. Like me and my friend, when we were buying stuff in the beginning, we were first with the GoPro. I was like, oh, if I just get a camera I can make this awesome stuff with the slow-mo and blah blah blah. And then I had the camera, and then I was like, oh, if I just have this lens, I can make the exact same video as Sam Calder. And when I had that lens, I bought the gimbal, and like the list goes on. And I think after every piece of gear, I said to myself like, oh, now I don't need to buy anything else. And yeah. To summarize the whole thing about gear, I think the most important thing is to like be smart about what you buy, like really check what you need, and that way you can save a lot of money and you can just be more effective with what you buy. Alright, so that's gonna be it for this little gear video. I hope you enjoyed. I know that I think it's really cozy to just sit down and watch these gear videos. But yeah, hopefully I didn't bore you. I've been sitting here talking for what feels like 3 hours. But yeah, I'm really excited about 2020. I'm really excited about making more videos. I actually made a long list of videos that I want to finish. I've had so many ideas in my head, but I never finished them. So now I have like this long list of videos that I'm gonna shoot. So hope you're excited about that. And as always, like the video, put something in the comments, and I hope you enjoyed. Peace.